So at the end of the Clone Wars, Order 66 was given to the clone troopers and they betrayed their Jedi commanders. This began the end of the Jedi Order in an event called the Great Jedi Purge. Today we'll take a look at how the galaxy as a whole, and I mean like galactic citizens, reacted to the Jedi Purge. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. So the Great Jedi Purge saw the Jedi Order basically wiped out. Only a handful of Jedi managed to survive the massacres across the galaxy, with the Jedi Temple on Coruscant being sacked and many Jedi commanders being turned on by their own troops at the very end of the war. It must have been very shocking to anyone who was on the inside of the politics between the Jedi and the Republic. However, how exactly did the galaxy respond to the end of the Jedi Order? Well, for starters, there's something that is kind of different between our viewpoint as viewers of the movies and the TV shows and the viewpoint of the standard galactic citizen. You see, most people in the galaxy had never seen a Jedi before. Well, we're used to them being the stars of the movies and the good guys. To most of the galaxy, they were almost like myths. And the only time any of them would have actually seen the Jedi would have been during the war, at which point they weren't really these majestic peacekeepers that were unarguably a force for good, but instead military commanders fighting in a war. To most of the galaxy, Palpatine's story about the Jedi showing up in his chambers to assassinate him was basically proof enough that the Jedi had betrayed the Republic. And legality of that event aside, in a lot of ways the argument could be made that the Jedi actually did betray the Republic in those final moments. To most of the galaxy, Palpatine's story was simply a little bit of justification for an act that really didn't affect them very much. The end of the Jedi Order overall didn't affect much of the galaxy. It just affected the Jedi that were out there, and the few Jedi sympathizers that were still around. And by the way, all of this is happening at the same time as the rise of the Galactic Empire. The Republic's transition from the Galactic Republic to the Galactic Empire was jarring at best for much of the galactic population. So the end of this relatively small religion was really not that much of an issue compared to the massive political change going on at the time. Even though most of the galaxy really ultimately probably didn't care, there was still a few people out there who would have seen this as the tragedy it was. We know that, for example, many Republic senators who had been working with the Jedi for years, both before and during the war, were shocked to find that the Jedi had betrayed the Republic and were basically wiped out. Some of them even doubting Palpatine's story about what had gone down in his office. And this is particularly true for senators like Bail Organa, who personally witnessed the Jedi Purge. He saw clone troopers gun down Jedi at the temple. Well, most of the population of Coruscant had never visited the temple. For days they could see the burning remains of the Jedi Order right in front of them, and most of them didn't care, or believed fully that the Jedi were traitors. But those that did see and recognize the tragedy of the Great Jedi Purge ultimately would go on to have futures with the Rebel Alliance. A lot of members in the early Rebel Alliance were unsurprisingly Jedi sympathizers, people who believed that the Jedi were a force for good before the rise of the Empire. And this is obvious during the early days of the Rebel Alliance, where we see rebel forces harboring Jedi who at the time would have been fugitives. Now that being said, there definitely were some sympathizers who weren't super familiar with the Jedi but could simply see the plight of this group that had been betrayed, and many who had known Jedi throughout the years, even if they weren't working with them very closely at the time of the Purge, likely were aware of how tragic the Purge actually was. But ultimately, to most of the galaxy, it was almost a non-issue. Like I said, at this time, the galaxy was undergoing a major political transformation. The Galactic Republic that had stood for thousands of years was being replaced by a tyrannical dictatorship, which in a lot of ways is way bigger of a change in the average citizens' lives than the fall of the Jedi, which at its height couldn't have had more than maybe 50,000 members. So ultimately, the much greater change for the people of the galaxy was not the fall of the Jedi or Order 66, it was the transition from the Republic to the Empire. And for most citizens of the galaxy, the Empire was generally a negative force. If you would like to learn how Palpatine convinced the people of the galaxy to accept the Empire at first, I'll leave a link up here to my video on that. And I want you to let me know down in the comments how you think you would have reacted as a galactic citizen to the events of Order 66. Would you have mourned the loss of the Jedi, or would you have probably believed the Chancellor's story of them being traitors? And last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.